Welcome back to the Reset Mantra with me, Sabina Maharjan. If you are new here, please subscribe so you don't miss the weekly episode. This podcast is your guide to reset your mind, body, and soul by letting go of old patterns and embracing what truly matters. Each week, we bring in experts who offer practical insights to help you make meaningful changes and live in alignment with your best self. This week, we are diving into the realm of hypnotherapy with Lynn Swearingen, a renowned certified hypnotist and instructor with the National Guild of Hypnotists and co-founder of Bay Area Hypnotherapy. With expertise in pain management, hypnobirthing, and as a hypno coach, Lynn has helped hundreds of clients transform their lives by harnessing the power of subconscious mind. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Lynn. Lynn, welcome, and thank you so much for being on the show. I'm honored.
Oh, thank you too. It's an honor to be here, Sabina.
Oh, the feeling is so mutual.
Very happy to be on your podcast.
Absolutely. So, Lynn, I would like to jump right into our conversation. So, I was talking to you a little bit about this off camera as well, how much I'm fascinated by this topic of the subconscious mind, right? The power of our subconscious mind. And I recently came across something that Dr. Daniel Amen said, that when we are reading a book and an hour passes by without realizing it, we're actually in a hypnotic state. And that, I think that for me was such an eye-opening concept, because as I was telling you before, when I first heard about hypnotherapy, I used to think it was some kind of mind control game and, putting people to sleep and taking their wallets or something. So I didn't have a good understanding of what hypnotherapy is. So I would like to ask you if you could help our listeners understand what hypnosis really is. How would you define what hypnotherapy is and what hypnosis is?
Well, Dr. Daniel Amen is a great resource. I love him. People should look him up if they haven't, if they don't know his name. And that was a very simple way of putting it. Hypnosis is, I think we're much more aware of it now than in the past and more accepting of what it is. But there's still a lot of mythology. Hypnosis it's not sleep, it's not being controlled. Hypnosis is a laser focus of concentration. When I'm doing a session with someone, I'm helping them to drop from their beta brainwaves down into alpha brainwaves, which is a daydreamy meditative state, and it's powerful hypnosis. You are listening to every word I say, and what happens is your brainwaves shift down to where your conscious mind is idling. It's like a car at a red light waiting for you to step on the gas. It's still working, but it slows down, and your subconscious can be now listening. And so what I mean by a focused state of concentration, it's like a laser beam. Your brainwaves shift down, and all of a sudden, when you reach this alpha state, you're no longer thinking about what happened before. You're not thinking about what you're going to do later. You're just totally present. It's that mindful, present, focused moment that everybody tries to get with meditation, other ways. We are all there once in a while, but we're not there all the time. It's that laser focus where nothing else matters and it's just you doing what you're doing. And so that's what he meant. You go into a state of hypnosis all day long whenever you're doing something that you're so engrossed in, like a book or a movie, or it could just be washing the dishes manually, lost in the soap suds, or on the treadmill. Whenever you're doing something where all of a sudden that's what happens, you're not thinking, you are what you're doing. It's actually peak performance, the opposite of sleep. It's you giving 100% to what you're doing without any thoughts. Your thoughts quiet down, they go away, and it's just you and what you're doing. That's a powerful state of hypnosis. So whenever you're doing something and somebody says your name or they touch you on the shoulder and you jump, when you are startled, you were in a hypnotic state, and they jerked you back up to your beta brainwaves where you are now, where you're totally alert. It is this total focus of concentration. And I go into that state with my clients, which is hard for them to understand. I'm not going to go deeper than that, where they can go deeper. But I'm in that alpha state, which it's a daydreamy meditative trance. It's just, I'm here with you. What am I doing for you right now? That's all I'm thinking about, not the last client or the next one. It's that laser focus of concentration where nothing else matters, where you become what you're doing. So that's what hypnosis is. It's not being controlled. It's not going to sleep. A person in hypnosis can come out anytime they want to, no matter how deeply they go. They can open their eyes and say, "I don't like this," or "I don't want to do this." You have the individual has complete control in hypnosis.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. So it sounds like from what I heard, hypnosis is really about the change in the brain waves that we experience. So right now, if I'm paying attention to this moment, would I be in alpha stage?
A couple minutes ago, we were busy, trying to figure out how to get the audio and the video correct, and it wasn't going right. And so at the beginning of this interview, you're still probably have wandering thoughts and you're still up here in beta. But if you're really interested in the interview, and all of a sudden it's going to just be you and me talking, and you'll be in that state. It'll just be you and me in this moment, and you go into this trance. Let me give you an example of how powerful this is, because it's not what people think. They fantasize. If you have no experience of hypnosis, you have no reference except movies and stage shows and things like that. And so we all get misinformation, and then we kind of fantasize about what hypnosis might be like, and that's always wrong. And it is such a focus of concentration that this is a funny story. Years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I was pregnant. I was home reading a book, and it was time for my husband to come home from work. I was reading a page turner I could not put down, and I was in the last couple of chapters. Nothing was pulling me out of this book. I didn't know then that that's what this is, but I was in this powerful state, trance state, where I was in the book, totally immersed in the book. My husband came rushing in, yelling at me. I'm in the living room. He came in yelling at me, saying, what are you doing? What's the matter with you?" And there was a fire in the kitchen. And smoke rises. I'm in the living room with my head down in the book like this, and the smoke was all around the room. It was circling my head. I never smelled it. I never saw it. I was in the book, totally in a trance state. That's what that was. He was coming home. I knew he was coming home, and I had preheated the oven to 500 degrees because I was going to bake potatoes. And I had a grease pan in there from something I did the night before. So a grease fire started, and it was going a long time. It's a good thing he came in. So that's how powerful that trance state is, and we all go in and out of that during the day. People wonder if they're a good subject for hypnosis. Yeah, you are. You go in and out of hypnosis, and I just help you to do it on purpose in the moment that you want it. And then I can teach you how to do it for yourself.
It sounds like when someone goes into the hypnotic state, the brain's traveling from the beta to alpha state, right? And then it goes into deeper state as it moves from beta to alpha, and then was it to theta?
Theta.
So when the person's actually in depth of a hypnotic state, are they in the theta state? Is that the state of the brain when they're actually close to the sleeping state?
Yeah. You go from beta brain waves where you're fully alert to alpha brain waves, and which is all you need. Like I specialize in PTSD, anxiety, abuse, trauma, and those things. I can help people with that, and they can have profound changes in the alpha state. The alpha state, where a client might think, well, I didn't go very deep. I was just heard every word you said. Well, no, you were deeper than you think you were. It's a very powerful state. And sometimes I want you to be in that state so that you're fully engaged with what's happening in a healing session. Mm-hmm. But clients will drift into theta. With me, they do. They might not always. There are some hypnotists that do very short sessions, 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and they probably won't go into theta unless they've had a few sessions. But my sessions tend to be longer and more complex. And almost everybody goes into theta. And what happens is you are in alpha brain waves where you're listening to me, and then you kind of go deeper into theta, and it's a dream state, and you're not paying any attention to me. You're as deep as you can go without falling asleep. I mean, you start to dream before you fall asleep into delta. People don't realize they have. You start to dream or see fragments of dreams or symbols. You start being in this dream state in theta, and then you fall into deep sleep in delta. So in hypnosis, you just go to theta. And when you're in theta, you're as deep as you can go without sleeping. And we don't want you to go to sleep. Mm-hmm. And what will happen is you're listening in alpha, and then you kind of go away, and you're in this dreamy state, and I'm droning in the background, and you're not hearing me. And then you come back up, and you hear some more, and you go down. And this up and down state of hypnosis is beautiful. It's ideal. And I have to tell my clients that if you find yourself in a state where you're in this dreamy, wonderful place, and then all of a sudden my voice will hook your attention, and you'll think, oh my goodness, you'll start to think in hypnosis. You'll hear my voice and you'll say, oh, I'm not to yourself. I'm not paying attention. I need to focus, pay attention. No, let that thought go, because you're where you're supposed to be. And thinking about it or trying to make something happen, like I need to pay attention, you're talking to yourself, and that only happens in your conscious mind. So you don't want to pull yourself out of hypnosis. If you notice you're not paying attention, you might have that, oh, wait a minute feeling, and then you'll remember what I said, and you'll just relax and just be where you are. Because I'm at that point, I'm speaking to the subconscious, not to you consciously. It doesn't matter if you hear me at all. Your subconscious is doing it. And I see amazing evidence of that, where I have people doing specific tasks, sometimes healing tasks in their conscious mind. In their subconscious, they're doing something for healing. A good example is when somebody has been abused, and they've never come to terms with that. They've never been able to tell the abuser how they really felt. Maybe they were a child. Even an adult, feels powerless. And so I might have somebody having closure in hypnosis, where in the privacy of their mind, I don't ask them to say anything out loud. And if there's other hypnotists listening and they do that, it's fine either way. A lot of hypnotists will say, say it out loud. Yell it, scream it, at this person. I have them do it in the privacy of their mind because, like I said, they're still aware of where they are and that I'm here. And so they may want to shout profanities and use really bad language and speak in a way that they are being embarrassed in front of me. And I want them to do it authentically and what they need to do. So this guy is doing it quietly in his mind. And he's the only client I've ever had that goes straight to theta. He never hears anything that I say. I always have to give him like a recap and ask him to just listen because he'll feel so much better. You feel that shift, you feel that turnaround in a new direction. And in the case where you're in theta the whole time, you don't even know why you're feeling so good. So I would tell him to listen to the recording I send him, like it's this podcast where you're alert and you're kind of wander around and do things and listen, and you'll hear every word. So anyway, he was supposed to be having closure with a number of people that abused him. And with his eyes closed and in a deep hypnotic trance, without any guidance or prompting from me, he was gesturing. I knew he was doing it. It was like you and you, and over here, and then he'd come back to this one. He was gesturing while he's doing this. He had no memory of that at all. His subconscious was doing it for him. So when you're in hypnosis, you just be where you are and experience what you're experiencing, and don't try to change anything because it's happening the way it should. So you hear me in alpha, you don't hear me in theta, but it doesn't matter. It's the way it's supposed to be.
Gotcha. What I'm really interested to know is you mentioned about the change being made at the subconscious level, right? Mm-hmm. And so tell me a little bit more about, what exactly or how exactly is the subconscious mind responsible to make these changes at the core and as a result influence the change in our behavior, belief system, or emotions. I'm just trying to understand, is subconscious mind more powerful than our conscious mind? Why is the change needed at the subconscious level than the conscious level or conscious state of mind?
That's an excellent question. And, there's so little understanding about these different states. I wish they would teach this in school and start children off with mindfulness exercises and just grounding and presence so they have clarity and they're ready to learn. You want to start off by go backwards from subconscious to conscious first to understand that these levels of consciousness have their own jobs to do. Your conscious mind is very important, but it's only doing certain specific things. Where you are right now, you are analytical, you can create strategies, you're logical, your inner dialogue is in your conscious mind where we're talking to ourselves all day long. Our short-term memory is there, and then all that gets funneled into your long-term. And you make decisions in your conscious mind. That's all we do there. Not to minimize its importance, but specifically that's it. And so the thing is, your inner dialogue, my inner dialogue, everybody's inner dialogue, unless you watch what's going on, you tend to be extremely negative. And you're, like, why can't I do this? Why can't I ever get anything right? I'm such a screw up. Why am I so stupid? And you're not stupid. It's just things that we say. But all of that dialogue is going straight to your subconscious. And your subconscious is going to act on that. It's going to believe everything you tell it is true and act on that. So you have to be very careful and mindful of what you're telling yourself, because it becomes who you are. Whether it's negative or positive, it will lead to that outcome, negative or positive, because your subconscious will believe it. And so when you make a decision in your conscious mind, this is where we get into trouble. We'll make a decision, but because this inner dialogue has been giving our subconscious a distorted idea of what we want. Like, for instance, someone who's afraid of public speaking. That's a good example because we're all afraid of public speaking at some level. Yeah. On a survey about what are the scariest things to people, it always comes out the same. The thing most people are afraid of, public speaking, that's the top one, and then dentists, and then death. You would rather die than go to the dentist or speak in front of somebody. And so I might be the subject matter expert. I might be just the one to give this talk, and it's in my wheelhouse, and I could talk to you and everybody else about it. And then I get into a public arena where I'm supposed to present it, and I freeze. And I don't understand why, I should be able to give this talk. And it's because dialogue goes into your subconscious, like, oh, my boss is going to be there, or all these people have a lot of influence. And if they don't like what, they may be judging me, they might not like what I say. There's fear of failure, there's judgment, or just not doing a good job. Or I don't like to be in the spotlight, I don't want to. And that your subconscious hears all of that. And your subconscious is always trying to help you. But you just told it that you'd rather die than be in the spotlight or give a talk. And so when you get up to give your talk, the typical things happen where you feel your heart races, you blush, your voice goes up, you're self-conscious, you can't remember anything, you go into a little bit of a panic mode. And that is because your subconscious heard, I'm going to be embarrassed or humiliated or judged. And then your subconscious will kick in your flight or fight response to run away, because it will tell you then why do you want to speak? Mm-hmm. It'll say, don't speak, don't do that. Stay in your safety zone, in your comfortable place. Don't go out there and do that. Why would you want to speak when you're going to be embarrassed in some way? So your subconscious, that's how it gets the idea that you shouldn't do something when it thinks it's helping and it's not. And it came from our thoughts. And so what happens when we make a decision is there's the part of you that says, yes, this is what I want. I can do this. This is great. And you're all motivated. And then the other part of you, like the devil and angel on each shoulder, the other part is saying, no, 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 no. You don't want to do that. You told me you don't want to do that. And now you're having a fight with yourself. and a struggle. When you're having a big struggle with something, it's a red flag to check in on what's going on in your subconscious. What have you been telling it? So that's what happens in your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is a warehouse that holds everything that makes you a person. Your personality traits are there, your creativity, your passions and interests, your every class you ever took, your life experience that you draw on, everything, and all of your memories. All of your memories are there. We all have perfect recall. We just don't experience it because we don't believe it. We don't, and we block it. There's lots of ways that we block it because we don't believe it's going to happen. But it's there, and all those memories can be retrieved. So all of this experience is in your subconscious. Your subconscious is not analytical. It's not strategic or logical. And probably neither are you, because when I say your conscious mind is logical and analytical, yeah, but how often is our logic wrong, where we decide what the answer is and we work backwards to prove that we're right? The opposite of what scientists do, where they have a theory and they go that way to prove the theory or disprove it. We are not logical. You know, a smoker will find all kinds of reasons why it's okay for them to smoke, but other people should quit, but I'm okay. So you can't trust this, what's going on in your conscious mind. Your conscious mind doesn't accept suggestions. You tell it you're going to do this, but everything inside of you and all your dialogue is saying no. Your subconscious will always win. It will always win. And your subconscious has its emotion and feeling, and it will be your subconscious has memorized the emotions that are connected with your thoughts too. That's why we feel our stress somewhere in our bodies, whether you've noticed it or not. A lot of people are oblivious to that, but when you talk about it, then they realize it's true. That everything that happens to you comes from a thought. Your thought immediately connects with an emotional response, and what you're thinking about and feeling emotionally connects instantly with a physical response. So I don't want to be in the spotlight. I'm going to be judged. So my emotion is fear and dread. And my physical response is run away and hide. Just run as fast as you can in the other direction is what happens. Or somebody with a broken heart I'll say, where have you been feeling when you're thinking about this and feeling that? Where do you feel in your body? And they'll say in their heart. They'll say it feels tight, or it feels like an elephant sitting on my chest. They've got a broken heart. And someone who's been raped or miscarried or something like that will feel it down in their genitals. It's amazing how accurate it will be, but we're holding our emotions somewhere because your subconscious has memorized all of these horrible things. And so when we are making a change, we want to dissociate the feelings about something, dissociate public speaking from being judged or failure, create a new association where I'm empowered. It's who I am. It's in my wheelhouse. It's what I do. It's okay. Neuroscientists say what fires together wires together. Like popcorn and movies become a thing, or smoking and drinking has to go together. We create these associations ourselves. And in hypnosis, using the right techniques, you break those associations and create the new associations that you want. And that becomes who you are. And the magic thing about this, because it's very scientific and it's not magic, and there are lots of studies to prove what's going on, but we feel like it's magical because you can have what you feel is a miraculous turnaround you can have very quickly. And what's really happening is that your subconscious cannot tell the difference between what you imagine and what's real. That's the key takeaway for anybody listening. Because we all do it to ourselves. When you imagine the worst case scenario, there's something coming up and you start to imagine all the ways it can go wrong, all the things that might happen, and you get into your head with what if this, what if that, and oh my God, those are the stress producing thoughts. and you're imagining what could go wrong, but your subconscious can't tell that that's not reality, so it thinks it's already happening. That's why we can make ourselves really, really scared and get into a panic because we heard a loud noise and we assume somebody broke into the house. And there's no danger, but we can get ourselves all ramped up into a real state of fear.
Mm.
And we can make ourselves sad or happy. We can control our states just by thinking about them.
That is so phenomenal. I mean, clearly, based on
It
what I've
really is.
heard, hypnotherapy can cure a lot of, extreme painful situations from our past life to heal at the subconscious level. And I think what really intrigued me personally is when you talked about it all starts with the thoughts that we have. And I talk about this a lot with my friends and my family that I've unintentionally, I was not aware about this. The thoughts that I'm thinking is keeping me in this stuck loop of wanting to become better, wanting to think positive. But then, just like you said, perhaps I was thinking consciously, okay, I'm going to start thinking positive. I'm going to create best scenario that's going to happen out of this event that I want. Let's say I'm going for a job interview. I want to make sure that I'm thinking about the best case scenario. But
Right.
naturally, I'm thinking about the worst case scenario. What if I get rejected? What if they don't like me? Or what if I don't like the team?
Yeah.
What if the
And that's
pay is
those what
not
it is.
good enough? What if the salary is not that competitive? So I think naturally I've sort of conditioned, or there's a pattern that I constantly think about the worst case scenario that makes me feel better, because in real, let's say if I don't get the job, I feel less bad because I've already thought about all the possible worst case scenarios.
You
And I've
know, that's
struggled a lot with the negative thinking. So until one time I became very intentional, I'm just exhausted. I'm tired. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a pessimist. But why do I keep thinking negative thoughts, although I appear to be a happy, confident person? So that's when I really got intrigued or interested in the concept of subconscious mind and how to really make change at that level. So I think when you brought the topic of, okay, the thoughts and then the feelings, attaching of emotions, those are the key drivers in making a change, especially if you want to switch your negative self-talk to a
right.
positive or empowering thoughts, right? What I want to know is, how does hypnotherapy help someone make that, let's say someone's suffering from a negative self-talk, a very pessimistic personality, what exactly happens when they go through a hypnotherapy? How are they able to rewire their brain to think positively? And let's start there. Like, what exactly happens in the process of hypnotherapy?
Well, society has taught us to live in a constant state of overwhelm and fear. It's a really fear-driven society. And of course, a lot of horrible things do happen, but all of our news cycles and everything we watch are generating fear because that's how they get their ratings. And so we get into an emotional and mental paralysis. And so we have to break free of that. And with negative thinking, when you talked about trying to think more positively, it's not, you don't want to be a Pollyanna positive thinker, like everything, telling yourself everything is fine when it's not. You want to acknowledge, this is where I am, this is what's happening in my life, and it's okay. It's wherever you are, it's okay. It's where you're supposed to be right now. Someday you'll understand why you were there, maybe not now, but it's okay. You accept what is. And then you change your way of thinking, and it's not to pretend everything is great, but a way of speaking to yourself so that you're moving forward instead of in fear, because what you think about is what you will get. What you focus on is what you will bring into your life. If you're worried about not having enough money and lack, you're going to get more lack. It's less money. You're going to manifest what you're focused on. But a simple way of flipping your self-talk, a simple example, is a guy who was felt like, was telling himself, that all these horrible things are happening to me all the time. And he was aware of what he was doing to himself. He understood these principles already. And he said, one of the suggestions I want you to give me in hypnosis is good things happen to me every day. Good things happen to me every day. And then when you say that, then you begin to notice, instead of noticing the bad things, you notice how many good things they are. It's like when you practice gratitude, which is so important, however you do it, a gratitude journal or in practice. I used to walk to my office when it was downtown. This is a home office now. And I used to walk downtown to the Flood Building, and I'd be practicing gratitude all the way down. Thank you for the sun shining. Thank you for this beautiful city and for this and that. And when you start to practice gratitude and remind yourself of the things that make you smile or that are good in your life, all of a sudden you start to think of more. They start pouring into your head, and you realize things aren't as bad as you thought they were. You were telling yourself they were awful, but it's like there are all these good things too. And we have tunnel vision, and then with our thoughts, we only see a problem this way, and we don't see all the other possibilities, and we don't see what's good. And if you were to Google how does gratitude rewire my mind, my brain, you'll get tons of studies and statistics that show that when you practice gratitude on a regular basis, that it rewires your brain in many positive ways. When you say, why am I saying these things to myself? We're hardwired to be negative. It's our ancient survival system was to look around corners for what's going to be around that corner, what animal's going to eat me, or it was a survival technique. And now, brain anatomists, thinking of one in particular, I can back up everything I'm saying from people I've talked to. There's a brain anatomist, Jill Bolt Taylor, who wrote in her book that the part of your brain for negative thinking is like big, and the part for positive thinking is like that big. That's a very scientific explanation, isn't it? This big and that big. I don't remember the numbers, but that was what it amounted to. And that when you practice gratitude and when you pay attention to the good things, then you expand that ability to be positive. It grows in your brain. So what we're doing is opening people up to what's possible, helping them to understand, helping them to see in a state of clarity all the limitless possibilities, all of the paths they can take, all the things they can do that they never thought of before, that things are never as bad as they seem, is what it boils down to.
Right, right. It's amazing because, in the beginning of the conversation, we talked about how when someone goes into the state of hypnosis, our mind is calming down, quieting down. But it sounds like now that I'm understanding more, it's actually awakening a part of our brain, a part of our mind, right? To,
Yeah.
like you said, to infinite possibilities. Clearly, there's a lot to dive into, the realm of how our mind, the mysterious tool, if I may say, works. But I'm kind of interested to know, about how you get started into this field. How long have you been in this field, or how did you really get started in this field?
Totally by accident. And I've been in conferences where somebody will, they'll go around the room and introduce yourself and all, who you are, what you want out of this today. And he said, and that was a question, how did you get into hypnosis? What attracted you to this? Because nobody wakes up in the morning and says that, no kid says, I want to grow up to be a hypnotist. People don't even know what that is. And so how does that happen? It's always an evolution of some kind, and you feel drawn to it. With me, my husband started Bay Area hypnotherapy. He was a brilliant counselor, and I didn't know. I came home from work one day. I was working at Bain and Company, global management, corporate work, and I came home and he blindsided me with this, and he said, you know, I've been looking into hypnosis, and I want to get trained in hypnosis. He said, would you help me find a place locally that would be good? And so luckily I trust him because he was brilliant. He always knew what he was doing. So I didn't criticize it, or I didn't inside I had a primal scream. Inside it was like, "Oh my God, here we go. We're going to spend all this money. He's not going to do it. He's not going to use it. And this is just another merry-go-round we're going to go on, and this is stupid, you know." But I didn't say any of that to him. So I had the same misconceptions about hypnosis that everybody else has, because I didn't know anything about hypnosis except what I saw in movies. So all I said to him, so all that was going on in my head, but all I said to him was, why? Why do you want to do that? And he said he knew from his studying about it that what took him months or a year or more to accomplish in talk therapy would happen in weeks. And he was absolutely right. So so I found a place for him to go. And from that moment on, he was after me every single day to get certified and do this with him. Every day, you've got to do this. We should be doing this together. We should do this in partnership. You know, you'd be really good at this. And I had my own self-limiting beliefs, my own inner dialogue, the same one that didn't tell him how crazy I thought this idea was. So now I was sold on it. Now I was doing my own research. I understood that. But in my head, it was like, who am I to be doing this? And who's going to come to me for this kind of, who am I to be messing around in somebody's mind? And actually, I'm not messing around in anybody's mind. I'm giving them what they want, what they've asked for. And I can't make anybody do something against their will either. That's a myth. You're protected. Your subconscious protects you from that, protects your core values and your beliefs. So I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. I was hemming and hawing about it. And I deep down wanted to do it, but I didn't know if I could. And so he, in his sneaky, sly way, started taking me to all of his advanced training classes after he was certified. So I hadn't been certified. I didn't know anything about hypnosis yet, but I had studied psychology my whole life. So this is where my life experience comes in. I was interested in psychology from when I was a little girl, and most of the books I read were about psychology, and most of the fiction that I watch on TV or read has dynamic layers of psychology and dynamics with people. So I had been kind of preparing myself without realizing it. And so I would go to these classes, and I understood a lot of what they were saying because of my own studies. And then there were things about hypnosis that just went over my head because I hadn't had the basic training yet. But I kind of I definitely saw the value in it. And then one day, one day something clicked. You know, I was in one of these conferences with him, and I said, you know what, I had my own fears of being, somebody, what if they don't go into hypnosis? What if I do this and it doesn't work? And then I suddenly realized whoever this person is in front of me, they're not looking at me. They're not judging me. They've got their eyes closed. So it's not like I'm making eye contact and I've got thoughts going in my head that are hampering me. I could be myself and do what I need to do, and their eyes are closed. And so they didn't know if I had like a clipboard with some notes and I'm going to do this and that. And they wouldn't know what I was doing with their eyes closed. And I might be, in a moment of silence where I'm telling them to work on something in their mind. They wouldn't know that I'm a beginner, which they never knew, and I'm looking at my notes and I'm thinking, wait a minute, was I going to do this or was I going to do that? And then I'm back with them, and they don't know that I had any doubts going on. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, like you said, most people don't know anything about hypnosis. So I can make a mistake. I'm not going to break anybody. I'm not going to hurt anybody. That'll never happen. I could be a mediocre hypnotist and they don't get the change that they're looking for, but it's not going to hurt them in any way. And they're going to assume that everything I did or said was the way it's supposed to be because they don't know about hypnosis. So I can make a mistake and it doesn't matter. They wouldn't even know that I made a mistake. And I would just learn and grow with more and more client experience. So that realization clicked in and I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to do this. And then I got certified and I realized this is what I was supposed to do my whole life. It was like, why? And I'm so passionate about it. And I thought, why did it just happen so late in life? Because I got certified when I was 55. I'm 74. And I will never retire. This is I'm so passionate about this. But you know what? All of that life experience is what made me so that I could help others because there isn't almost nothing that a client is going through where I haven't gone through it myself. I haven't murdered anybody, but I've had the anger management. I've been laid off. I've been out of work. I've had times when I thought I might be homeless. I've had all kinds of fears. I've been divorced. I've had a broken heart. Everything that people present with, I've been there. So I have a frame of reference and can have empathy and really be there for them with that. What's really interesting is when I was about probably 8 or 9 years old, I saw the movie Sybil, it's an old movie, a true story about a woman with multiple personalities. And Anne Bancroft got an Oscar for that movie, playing the therapist that helped her. So this was an extreme, multiple personality. I was so engrossed in that I remember standing in front of the mirror that day, talk about manifesting. This is it. This is who I'm going to be. I said, I want to work with people like that. I want to help people with big problems like that. And so I'm going to be a psychiatrist. In my little girl mind, I thought that was what I had to be, was a psychiatrist like Anne Bancroft was. And everything stood in my way of becoming a psychiatrist or even a psychologist. And I'm so glad because that was just, I knew what I wanted to do. And then I just thought that was the way you do it. And, now psychiatrists mostly just give you medicine and a diagnosis. They're not really helping with the root cause. And then all of my life experience from that time on led to this. And this is what that little girl wanted to do. So it's just an amazing, long lifetime journey in my case.
That's so empowering. And I think you said you started at 55. I thought you were 55 now.
No, this is,
That,
if I look younger, that's hypnosis too. I'm in
oh,
a state of hypnosis all day long, and you can do hypnosis for to extend your life. I forgot the name. There's a nerve or a synapse or something that's long.
is it a
It
vagus
has to do
nerve?
with aging, and
Oh,
as we get older, it gets shorter and shorter.
okay.
And maybe people listening know what I'm trying to say. I totally lost the word. It flew out of my head. But it's long and it gets shorter, shorter, shorter. And in hypnosis, you can make it get longer and longer and longer again. So you're still going to die someday. Something's going to happen. You're not going to be around forever. But you can become more youthful again and stall the aging process quite a bit. I mean, hypnosis is incredible, and I think just the fact that I'm in a state of hypnosis, that alpha state where I explained I'm in it where you are, so much of the time that it almost doesn't matter what the hypnosis is for. It's putting me in this state where my body is able to regenerate and heal. That's what happens when you go to sleep. So I'm always in this state of mind where my cells and my body can renew and restore.
I think that's so powerful because, like you said, there isn't any external medication or objects that we're consuming. With hypnosis, we're simply, gaining control of our life by training or reprogramming, if I may say, reprogramming our subconscious mind, which is simply to change our thoughts. But that's the difficult part, right? It's not as simple as it sounds. Um, you
But
know,
it's not as hard as it sounds either. You just don't know how to do it yet.
True, and then that's where we rely on experts like you to be able to learn to love our life again. wanted to know is, so you've witnessed countless transformations through your work, through helping hundreds of clients. What do you think is the most significant change you've seen in your clients through your work?
Oh, there's been so many, and so I'll give you some client examples. I had a client, I think her name was Sarah. This was a long time ago, and she had no self-esteem. I mean, zero self-esteem, but no reason for that. This was her early role modeling conditioning. Her mother had no self-esteem, and she told me her mother, and I'd never heard of this. When we're driving, people cut you off, they do things, they think they can get away, they give you the finger because they can get away with it because they're going to drive off, and maybe they would never do that otherwise. And so if her mother was driving and someone got mad at her and gave her the finger or did something, anything similar, she would pull off the road and burst into tears and couldn't go on. That's how low self-esteem she had. All you had to do was look at her cross-eyed and she was going to cry. And so her daughter, for a number of reasons, she had the same low self-esteem. And the first time she came in, she wasn't making eye contact, and she was in a kind of a trapped body language, and she was looking down and she couldn't focus. And so I worked with her in that one session. In the second session, she came in smiling, making eye contact, and she was present with me and enthusiastic about what we're going to do next. In the third session, I went to the restroom, and she showed up early, and I came out of the restroom, and she was in front of me walking down the hall to my office. And I was in back of her, walking in back of her, and she didn't know it, and I'm looking at her, and I'm thinking, I know that's her, but I would never know that's her. Even she was studying, she was about to create her own business for acupuncture and massage. And now she was dressed the part. She had this beautiful, natural fabric outfit with, just different pieces. It all went together so well. She was just really well dressed, and she was walking erect and with confidence. And she just kind of sashayed into the office, and I was in back of her. And she is just ready now to work on her new business. That's the kind of transformation I see quite often, regardless of what their goals are. And there was another client, Eileen, who I've seen many times. Some clients come over and over again, and it's not because it takes a long time to reach a goal. You will, whatever I'm working with you in one session, you will get that. It'll happen. And then in the next session, we're working on something else, and that will happen. Your subconscious, if I am giving you what you ask for, what you want, and what you need, it's your subconscious's job to give that to you. It wants to give you what you need, and it finds out in hypnosis. That used to help me, but I used to like to smoke, but it doesn't work for me anymore. Now I'm not smoking. Or I used to be that way, anxious, upset, frustrated, but now I'm confident, I'm at ease, this is happening. Your subconscious finds out I used to be that way, but now I'm this way.
Clearly, there's a lot of things, to tap into, and there's more to the realm of hypnotherapy and what our minds can do. But if there's one thing that you'd like our listeners to take away out of today's conversation, what would you say?
It is your self-talk. That what you focus on is what you're going to get. Because when you focus on not making a mistake, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And so it's very important to focus on what you want to be and what you want the outcome to be. And to remember that your subconscious believes that what you imagine is real. And that's why hypnosis feels like magic, because it believes what we're doing in hypnosis is already a done deal. And it helps you in that direction. So if you are imagining those worst case scenarios, you're killing yourself. Your self-talk and where your mind goes is all important. And your listeners, all of them, can go right to my website, lynswearingen.com, and they can download a free ebook that will explain a lot of this, and they'll see themselves in it. And it's easy reading, but it really has some depth. Everybody can get that. And if there is anyone that wants to have a free consultation with me, anyone who calls as a result of this podcast, I'm going to gift them a full session that's pre-recorded. And it's a session about the power and freedom of choice. I think that's what it's titled.
Oh.
How do you make your own choices? How do you become you need to be writing the chapters of your life, not somebody else or other situations. You write the chapters of your life, and everything in life, the big takeaway, everything in life is a choice. Even being happy is a choice. You choose to be happy or sad or mad. The choice is always yours. You have to be making your own choices.
That is so powerful. So powerful. I'm going to be putting all those links in the show notes below so our listeners can learn or know where to and how to reach out to you, Lynn. But thank you so much. We'll definitely need to bring you back for another session. I know there's a lot to cover, but really appreciate your time, and thank you
Well, you
so
covered
much.
quite a bit, and it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
That's such a powerful reminder, Lynn. The way we speak to ourselves truly shapes our reality, and it all begins with that inner dialogue. I've personally experienced this in my own life, and I cannot believe how much our reality shifts just by switching the way we talk to ourselves. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Reset Mantra. If you are new here, please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our weekly episode. If you enjoyed today's show, please leave me a review. I absolutely love reading them, and it helps other people find our little community. I am Sabina Maharjan, and I'll catch you next time.